a stuck tractor turned into a fully stocked pond in 3 years. All right, y'all, it is Food Forest Friday, and we're in the back food 401K update. I told y'all we're gonna be keeping y'all up to speed and up to date. And if you hadn't checked it out, Curtis Stone is putting in a new food forest and he's trellising it. It's super cool. But I figured I'd do a food forest update, and because Curtis is gonna be intensively planting, well, you can see what intensive planting looks like. We've planted this over the last 4 or 5 years. We're continuing to expand it. One thing we do is we sequester water here on the homestead, and this water here is from the kitchen sink. So we have food waste and different things going on here, which is great. There's lots of bioactivity, all kind of cool stuff going on here. But one idea I had with this water here is it would be I've talked about my nursery concept before, and when a tree graduates from a propagation 4-inch pot, and then you put it in like I usually put it in like a 3-gallon pot, and I plant it in the ground. And I make sure that it's an older pot and the roots can go out, and then that way when I go to put this tree permanently in the ground, it's got a significant root structure. You can plant it very high and it can support itself and all that stuff. So I had an idea. I was like, what if I use this water and I put 3 gallons or 2-gallon pots in the ground, and it will naturally water that pot. So these have been in the ground a couple of weeks now. This has not been watered. It hasn't rained a lot. It's putting on a lot of new growth. This is a very young tree that I propagated off another young tree. That's a white Pakistani. Once again, this is another fig tree. This one is a Bethlehem Black. It's got a lot of new growth on it. But it's basically kind of like a wicking bed, y'all. And this is a lot of sandy soil here, and it's just transference of the moisture indirectly by the pot being in the ground. So as some of my trees in the greenhouse, as they get big enough to put in a 3-gallon pot, I'll bury them around the perimeter, and this water will matriculate, and it's recycled water that we're recapturing, reutilizing, and so that water doesn't go to waste. So that's pretty cool. And we got a lagoon system here. We should have done it before. Well, we actually did do a before video, but the footage got lost. So you could see what Texas weeds look like. But Texas weeds grow rapido, senor. And so Buddy came through here with the yo-yo. If you don't know what a yo-yo is, it's like a modern day sickle. So Buddy did the yo-yo. And then I took the Red Dragon. And a tip on the Red Dragon for any of you that are looking for a weed torch, you can go to a roofing supply, and the roof torch that they sell to torch roofing on is the exact same torch as the Red Dragon, and you're probably going to get a better price on it. That's the torch we use, is actually a roofing torch. All right, y'all, today's video is brought to you by HISEA. As you can see, I'm wearing my HISEA garden shoes. They cost about 36 bucks, but if you use our link below, they are an affiliate. If you use our link below and you use the discount code TexasBoys, you can get 15% off. And these are incredibly comfortable. They're entirely rubber around the base with a neoprene liner, so you don't have to wear socks. And you know, these are for the garden. These aren't like hip. I'm not hip, y'all, but it's cool for what I do. That's what I do. All right. We came in here with the yo-yo, and then we hit the weed torch. And we went around stuff, and when you're using the weed torch, you need to be real careful about where you point the flame. And if you just hit the tops, it'll really put a beating on stuff. So that way it takes that weed pressure away from the tree so it can get a little bit more sun, so it's not competing with these gigantor Texas weeds. So you can see where we came through here. We knocked all this down, relieved the pressure, and the trees are rocking. You can see the gigantic, how large this new growth is. It's just kind of incredible. This is the newer side of the food forest, so everything's much smaller than over there. If you look over there, you can see some very mature trees that are loaded with pears, plums. There's lots of elderberry. The mulberry trees are huge. But that's on the more mature side of the forest over there. So a couple things I wanted to show you. So this is where our lagoon system runs to. And I got some trees planted around the perimeter. They're all doing really well. You can see lots of amphibious life if you keep looking. There's all different kinds of frogs jumping everywhere. It's pretty cool. It helps with the pest control and with aphids and all kind of cool stuff. And then so this pond kind of overflows. It's got like a little natural spillway here. And so what I did on this spillway is I planted trees on both sides. So that way they would naturally get watered as this spilled over into our other pond. And then around the perimeter of that pond, I have trees. I have some ranch elderberry back there. Hopefully I have some Bob Gordon right here. Matt weed whacked it down and knocked them down, but they're pretty resilient. They're coming back. So this is how we're using all this, our sequestered water and also retaining it. I'm a huge fan of John Kaiser, the natural farmer, but unfortunately I'm not in Mediterranean Italy. So, but I do really enjoy John's content. So if you want to let him know, I appreciate him. And he does all kind of great stuff with ponds and retaining water. And then I'm going to show you, it's going to be a grafting update on the multi-graft mulberry. We're starting to get, here you go, y'all. We're starting to get, this one is a sweet lavender. This is kind of ultra incredible. These will actually, the more mature they get, they'll turn like they'll blush, but they are so good. And
is this one ready?
Probably pretty close. They're just incredible and they don't stay in your hands. And then I had a new one over here, Silk Hope. That's another winter chicken dinner. That is a super good one. So we have about 20 different varieties of mulberries that we're growing. So this, if you remember, was a grafted mulberry tree that burnt to the ground. The root stock was a male mulberry. It came back and it had male fruit on it that drops. It's non-fruity. So what I did is I grafted to it. Well, all of the grafts were doing great. We went to the Exit and Build Summit. I came back and I took the bucket off, the protection, and a lot of these smaller grafts had molded because, you know, I check on this every day, so I take the bucket off and get some air. I didn't think of that, you know, if I left the bucket on, it would create any issues. So the maturing buds, I'm down to 2 different varieties on here, so we're still cool. Some of these might recover, but I'm keeping the bucket off, and I just put the bucket in front here as like shade protection. But you can see that graft is already fruiting, so it's pretty taken pretty well. So we're going to be okay, and if those other grafts don't work, I'll strip all the tape off and I'll do some more grafting to it. And I'm going to have like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or so varieties on here. It's going to be killer. And that way we're utilizing that very awesome, robust, vigorous rootstock, and it's going to put out all different kinds of variety. So we're utilizing that. It doesn't just go to waste, which is neat. And that gives us, you know, we learn the skill and it'll feed us. But yeah, this is Food Forest Friday. In the back, Food 401k. Wanted to update y'all. Maybe one day we'll go over our other water catchment, which is what we did with our pond. What happened, it was probably about, Matt, what was it, 3 years ago? 3 years ago, we got the John Deere tractor stuck in what is now the center of our pond. It was it was the lowest area on our property, and it stayed naturally wet. And I was hoping that there was maybe a spring under there.
Well, when they started digging it.
Yeah, when they started digging, there was all this water, and I was like, woohoo! But what there was a really nice clay layer that was holding the water. But that is the lowest spot on our property. So we had a pond builder put that dam in, and that pond is teeming. And we also took 4-inch pipe, buried it under the ground, and so we piped in all of our rainwater that's coming in from our gutters on the house. So that is a great, so there's several,
And we just stocked it.
and we just stocked it with bass and catfish. So it is water catchment for us. It's an enormous amount of water catchment. We can always use a small pump and pump out and irrigate. The horses can drink there. Any animals we bring to the house, they can drink there. It's growing two sources of fish, catfish and bass. So we're really excited about that. And that is just growing the infrastructure and everything in this whole process. It's always about progress. You know, it's about moving forward. You know how many times you have to dig that pond? One time. You know, you dig that pond one time, right? And then when it comes to progress, it's always, especially when you're working with God's creation, it's always a multiplier, right? So you dig the pond once, the pond fills up. Now it's a water source, right? Well, that's going to give us amphibian habitat, and unfortunately, there's a blue heron that comes in here. He's really liking the fact that we stocked the pond, and it's really elegant to watch him eat our fish. But we have all this amphibious habitat. But now we have a water source. We're catching the water. We're converting this huge runoff that we have onto our property. We're converting it into water storage. We can use water filtration system. If we need water, we can get our water out of there. And now we have a habitat where we can grow a food source like fish, right? And now, did that all happen overnight? No. Did that all happen in 1 year? No. But now we're 3 years in, and what was an incredibly challenging, when we got our tractor stuck, the transmission of the tractor submerged in mud, right? And it went axle
all the way to its belly.
Yeah, she was setting on the ground. And one of our great neighbors, he brought like this ultra mega hillbilly tow truck with this gigantic winch, and this thing was like from the 60s or something. And he yerked that thing out of there. So he rescued us. He bailed out the John Deere, and the John Deere's growing strong. But because of that challenge, it's like, hey, wait a minute. Wow, this would be the absolute perfect place for a pond. And so then add the pond, add the water, add the habitat, add the fish. 3 years later, now we have several thousand gallons of reserve, right? We're capturing even more water that's coming off of our roof. Now we have a habitat for frogs and different things like that. And then we add to that the fish for food. And those fish within a year or two will be sizable enough to eat, and the population will be regenerative enough where we could start harvesting fish from that. And that is the progress, right, that we make. And it is a multiplier of abundance. So a stuck tractor turned into a fully stocked pond in 3 years. So you take that adversity and you turn it into your advantage. And that's what regenerative agriculture is all about. Permaculture is sedition. I love quoting Bill Mollison, permaculture is sedition. And we do need to secede from all of the complexes that are currently trying to hijack society and culture. We need parallel economy, we need parallel food source, we need parallel community, we need parallel banking, whatever it is, y'all. But you have to start now, because if you start now, 3 years from now, you can look around and you can say, wow. And you know what you can say? You know what you'll see? Abundance. There's an enormous amount of abundance. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen all at once. But it's these little incremental steps and these little incremental decisions that we make that one day you turn around and you're like, wow, and we are so thankful. We praise the Lord for all that He's blessed us with, and we do our best to steward it to the best of our ability, knowledge, and we continue to grow that knowledge base and share it with y'all. And we appreciate and love y'all. And if you enjoy our content, this is a value for value proposition. So please go over to TheTexasBoys.com and get some honey money, get some native mud, maybe get some CBD or lion's mane coffee. Check us out, y'all. We have a lot of great, awesome homestead products over there. You can get some cool merch if that's your thing, whatever. We try to give you what you need, and we love and appreciate y'all. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye.